As I've already established this semester, I'm a man of many hats. Two of these hats are here today. One from the Remington Firearms Company, and one from the National Rifle Association. You probably guessed it. I'm a gun-owning American. According to the stereotypes of many Americans, this would make me a bad person. In fact, according to Dave Kopel, in the December 2011 edition of America's First Freedom magazine, as many as 1/3 of Americans are hostile towards Second Amendment rights. My hope, as a responsible gun owner, is to persuade you today that guns are not inherently bad, and in fact provide many benefits to our country. Why am I qualified to do this? I've grown up around guns, and I've been taught to use them safely, and they have not taken away from my life, but in fact have enriched it. So, upon reading this from the First Freedom magazine, I set out to figure out why people had this negative idea of guns. I looked through the November 25th issue of our local newspaper, the Hutchinson News, and in that I found 3 different articles dealing with violent crime. And the only other article that mentioned guns didn't even view them positively, but in fact it was merely objective, which is better than most. I read the book Freakonomics by Stephen Dubner and Stephen Levitt, and they mention the fact that when you look at the statistics, homes with a swimming pool, your chances of dying in a swimming pool related death are 1 in 11,000. Statistically speaking, in a home with guns, your chances of dying are less than 1 in a million. So, both of these items are causing deaths, but the swimming pools are causing much more. However, the general outlook is that a home with a gun in it is dangerous and the home with the swimming pool is not. We should be having a crusade to end swimming pools in homes, not this crusade that's currently going on to end gun rights. So now that we've taken a look at why people view guns as being bad, because of this media bias, let's take a look at some of the good things that guns do for our country. First off, guns help the economy. According to the National Shooting Sports Foundation's report, there are over 88,000 people who are employed in the production of firearms. And this is just production. That doesn't count the retailers, all the accessory manufacturers. That's just the production of the firearms themselves. So obviously, this is an industry that has a large stake in our economy. They also managed to create job growth in the midst of the 2008 recession. So this is an industry that was helping us to get out of the recession. If more people would be responsible gun owners and buy guns and the complementary products, it would actually improve our economy. Now next, guns are helpful in preventing crime. This is kind of an obvious one, but in the November 2011 edition of the America's First Freedom magazine, there's a section called The Armed Citizen, and it gives accounts of different times where it was helpful to have a gun. Brandon Cruz was assaulted by 3 teenagers. They ran up to him and started hitting him. He drew the pistol that he was carrying concealed, and without firing a shot, the 3 teens scattered to a nearby parking lot. Cruz immediately called the police, and the 3 teens were picked up later, and there was no major harm done in the incident. According to Phil Valentine in the Conservatives' Handbook, in 1996, Australia put gun bans in place. In the 25 years prior, they had seen a steady decline in crime rates. But once they instituted that ban, crime rates exploded. And in 2008, Australia had the highest violent crime rate in the world. So as we can see, if we keep restricting guns and people's right to own them, we will only be raising the crime rate, whereas if we free up the guns, it will decrease our crime rate. And everybody brings about the argument that criminals will have access to these guns. But if a criminal isn't going to obey the law, then it doesn't matter what laws we put on guns, they're going to blatantly disregard them anyway. So if we outlaw guns, then only outlaws will have guns. Instead, we could have responsible and law-abiding citizens carrying these guns to prevent the crime from happening. Now third, guns provide an opportunity for families to spend time together. My father and I always go to the shooting range together. I've never been to the shooting range without my father. And my brother, who is in the United States Army, goes with us every time that he is able to come home. And we've all read the reports, that this generation, with all the technology, that students and kids feel disconnected from their parents, and that's causing a lot of problems. So guns are a medium for families to spend time together. And if families would spend more time together, it could solve some of these issues that we've got going on. Now, we've taken a look at why guns are good. And the fourth issue is animal population. Living in Kansas, we all know somebody who has been in a deer-related vehicle accident. Hunting obviously takes care of deer population, and there are many environmentalists who are worried about overhunting, but the Department of Wildlife and Parks sets standards, and they regulate how many deer and other animals can be hunted through licensing and permits and that sort of thing. There's a similar effect with turkeys. A lot of people have been hitting turkeys lately. So this is yet another way that guns help our country. Now that we've looked at why guns are good, if I can't convince you of that, let's at least look at why they're not inherently bad. I have, as an experiment, kept a gun loaded in my house. It was in the cabinet, but I left it loaded with one in the chamber for a month. At the end of that month, I went back to the cabinet and looked. There were no shots fired into the top of the cabinet, and there were the same rounds in the gun that there had been when I placed it in the cabinet. So as a result of this, we can see that guns do not fire themselves. An analogy that I like to use is, if guns kill people, then pencils misspell words. So, in conclusion, I've given you reasons why there's a negative outlook on guns in the country. I've also given you reasons why guns are good, and reasons why guns at least aren't bad. So, now with this information that I've presented to you, I would like you to think, with the upcoming election, as Americans, it is our duty to speak out for issues that we feel strongly about. And even if I have not convinced you to go out and buy a gun and to be a gun owner, don't let your views prohibit the Second Amendment rights of other voting citizens. I hope that, if nothing else, I've given you some insight, and so now if you form your views, they won't be out of ignorance, but at least you have some knowledge to go off of. Thank you.